it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful empowered harmonizers. And I want to zoom in and focus in on a great topic today. And that is looking at and understanding the unspoken relationship rules when you're in a relationship with a narcissist or a psychopath. And I think that this will provide you some great insight and illumination to help you understand the moving parts and the dynamics of this relationship with these emotionally manipulative individuals and how they are able to procure you in a frame of being less than, lower than, or inferior to, not as good as, or not good enough, unworthy of really kind of vocalizing your inner voice and sticking and standing up for your needs. There's a very particular way that this is set up in these relationships, and I want to dive into that. But before we get started, I want to give a huge shout out to those of you who have recently stepped up to the plate, stepped in the batter's box, made a good swing, got some skin in the game, and contributed and donated to the channel. Thank you so much for your kind words in sharing with me your experience, whether you've been with me for a couple weeks or a year. It is so nice to hear from you. It is the reason, it is you that keeps this channel alive, and your contributions help to fuel the fire here and the passion, and it's letting me know that I've made a positive impact and that we're at least hitting on some cylinders or some value points that are helping you to see exactly what happened and what you can do to move on, and seeing that choice, that opportunity, and truly becoming liberated once and for all. It's a move forward process. So thank you so much for your kind wishes, your letting me know that I have made a positive impact. And absolutely, if I have been a positive force in your life, you absolutely positively can donate to the channel. There's a little donate now on the About channel here at YouTube. So thank you so much for sharing your experiences. And let's get started here. So we're looking at the unspoken relationship rules that are set up in a relationship with a narcissist or a psychopath, a cluster B, someone who has really, unbeknownst to our awareness, our consciousness, at least that we think our consciousness, or what we're really think we're tuning into or aware of, how these relationship rules, these terms of engagement get set up. And oftentimes it's really very much set up in the beginning, in the love bombing phase. Now, everyone's story here is unique, and I appreciate you sharing your experiences and comments. But really, it comes in the love bombing phase, in the very beginning, where there is really initially a distraction, where we really sort of abandon oneself, abandon one's state, abandon one's current existence, really, if you will, for a moment, where you let go of where you are currently, presently, to engage in the relationship. In other words, there is an element of distraction. Something that the person says, does, or then confides in you becomes a distraction component, which then you basically begin to feel in love with and immersed by. And then this very much then becomes what the relationship is about. It becomes about them, and not so much about you. It becomes about them, but you don't really pay attention to this consciously because it's done so subtly and gradually over time. And so when we look at this, when you are entering into really this sort of almost like a dream or trance-like state where you're really abandoning your own values. In other words, little by little, you begin to make sacrifices. Little by little, you begin to lower your boundaries, lower your standards. Certain things that they then say, perhaps, little quips of humor, little quips of, well, I love you, but this and this is imperfect about you. You then begin to accept these little statements, these the ignorings, the stonewalling, in order to keep the relationship alive. In other words, it becomes integral to keeping the glue of the relationship. So little by little, one's position is corrupted or corroded in the relationship. And by that, I really mean like a frame of relating. So in the beginning of the relationship, there's generally an equal frame, is there not, where you are on an equal standing. But if this person is a parent or boss, maybe their title alludes to otherwise. But generally, I think a lot of the bulk of our viewers here have had these types of people either in their family, in their romantic life, or in their siblings, something of that nature. But it really does pertain to relationships with these types in all settings, because they don't change from setting to setting. The act of entitlement, the act of being superior, the ability to judge others and control others becomes part of their apparatus moderandi. And if you are caught up in that web or in a relationship with them, you are unequivocally going to be part of that. So you begin to almost laugh and scoff at yourself. You begin to accept the imprinting as part of integral to the relationship. So unbeknownst to you, you accept this, and you accept, that they are pointing things out about me. The criticism, is gentle, then it becomes worse, or it becomes very loud. It becomes physically abusive. They might raise their voice at you. They might, cancel a lot of dates with you. Things like this, which are showing who's the boss, who's the one in control, who is the one with the power. And so yet it gets you to abandon the view of your own personal power and personal choice and options in the beginning. So in other words, you begin to swallow a big horse pill of this person is in control. It is really about them. And even though consciously you might have had a quick blurb in the beginning that, I should not put up with this. I should not tolerate this. This is not fair. This is not right. So these might have then entered into your consciousness in the beginning. This is mean. This is not right. This scares me. This makes me extremely uncomfortable. Yet there's the feel-good enticement with which covers over or kind of lacquers over that feeling, that little blurb, that little voice of intuition that gives you that statement. But oftentimes, depending on where you're at in your life, you are not feeling powerful enough, self-protective enough, or have enough belief and validation in yourself at that point, because you've accepted their frame as being above you in the dynamic of that very specific relationship. If it came from somewhere else, you might have said, I'm out of here. But in the dynamic of that relationship, that I am less than gets swallowed. It gets imprinted, it gets accepted, and it gets emblazoned in your thought dynamic, your feeling dynamic, your spirit dynamic as I am less than, I am less worthy than, and their word is my law, either because of the time in the relationship. In other words, this happens to children whose parents have been abusive in this manner, where it's too threatening to that immature spirit to accept this is not good for me, my parents are not good for me. I mean, how can a 5-year-old realistically take this knowledge, a 7-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 16-year-old, even a 20-year-old, how can they take this feeling, this vocalization of intuition, and take it and hit the streets and say, I'm out of here, I'm protecting myself? Oftentimes by virtue of either the time of life or the time and point of the relationship. Perhaps you could be newlyweds. Perhaps you could be young couple with children. Perhaps you could be first dating and you really want it to work. So it becomes, there's all these other factors which then weigh in and then suppress and repress those instinctual voices, pushing them down, which leads to the quietude and then the unspoken rules of engagement with these types of people, where you are then cemented. Essentially, it basically becomes written in stone that you are less than and that you will tolerate this, and that to be with them becomes the new win. It becomes the new priority. In other words, having your life purpose completely becomes obliterated. Being validated becomes obliterated. Having your needs recognized, your voice heard, your experience, eventually it gets out of balance. And then the relationship becomes one that is identified with being out of balance. And so, especially as you can see in the beginning, it's very important to understand how they do this. It is the narcissist and psychopath's desire to have this unequal, unlevel, imbalanced playing ground that is the hallmark of their relationship, the unspoken rules of engagement. But you might not see this, you might not be able to consciously acknowledge this, but what becomes very eminent is that it becomes too painful to acknowledge, admit, and accept the truth. It becomes basically an impossibility, just like a child, for a child to be able to live on their own, while experiencing this abuse. They have nowhere to go. They have nowhere to hide. They must accept these terms and conditions. And oftentimes their spirit is ground down. They are defined by the fear. They don't have anything else in their toolbox to identify with, just like the newlyweds or those people who are married who have children. It would be too much to admit that this is not working out. It becomes too threatening. It becomes too overwhelming to the conscious mind. And then, the unspoken rules unconsciously, well, I will just put up with this for the kids. This is what I must endure. This is where I'm at. But then it becomes usually exasperated with time, or really, then when you get into the devaluation and discard or the exposing stage, where the pain is great enough, where you say, my needs are not only a little foggy voice, but it becomes a very clear declaration. Your needs become I must. Your I should becomes I need to now. I must. And so when you cross that bridge from I need to I must, then you're really kind of taking that leap onto better ground, solid ground, where you can be, you are on your feet. But it's really then really a committing to those struggle emotions when you're engaging in the unspoken relationship dynamics with these people, because it is really to accept a life of feeling inferior, of not feeling worthy, of not feeling like you deserve. You are only identified by what you can give to this person. Yes, these people are the great takers, taking of your time, your energy, your thoughts, displacing yourself, displacing your heart, onto them. And you begin to develop a lack of empathy for yourself, which is so important to regaining that and getting back to that I'm worthy. When we watch the Olympics here and we see those people, the great athletes of the world who are in their start gate, they're in the shoot gate, they're ready to make their jump, they're ready to make their skate. If their start is postponed for some reason due to winds or temperature or another, things aren't ready yet, then you'll see the coach come behind them, who is their support, who is, basically there to be there in their best interest and to help them get the win, to get the medal. You see them throwing on a big coat. You see them throwing on a big sweater. You see them throwing on a big windbreaker, even if it's for 1 or 2 minutes, because they know the preciousness of time, that 1 or 2 minute segue where we need to keep your muscles warm and limber and keep your muscles in tip-top shape. So it shows you the worth and the deserve of that athlete in their current state. You really need to be in that same deserve, I am worthy batter's box, shoot gate. You need to be able to give that to yourself. In other words, it's the unworthy that leaves you out in the cold. It's the unworthy that makes you not eat healthy. It's the I don't deserve that keeps you feeling in the downward, spiral of and not feeling in control. The I am ineffective. I can't go on my recovery date. I don't deserve to smile here. I haven't, the I have not, I cannot. I have not, so I cannot. In other words, you begin to over-relate to the I have not had a win, and so I cannot win. I have been defeated, therefore I cannot have the win. So this begins to become part of that whole foundation. When we talk about it is the foundation of emotions, and nothing is more crucial than looking at the I deserve, I am worthy feelings, because it is that big horse pill that you had swallowed in the betraying, in the emotionally manipulative relationship that got you to experience those events and those feelings of I am not worthy. So it is those events that have created the feelings. I'll say it again. It is those events which have created the feelings. It has nothing to do with the core of who you are. It has blinded you to the core of who you are. So in essence, you have been living on really a sort of blind or feeling lost or dissociated or dehumanized or in that funk of not being worthy, which was embedded and imprinted in the unspoken relationship dynamics with these individuals. So they would hitherto have you, live on that tenant and on that proponent and to have you down, because what better way for them to be elevated than to push everybody else's down? It's the lazy man's guide to feeling better about yourself. If you can push others down, immediately you're above seawater. So it's really the lazy man's guide. And so you need to then take them down from that pedestal, oftentimes which they were set up either by title, by position, by their physicality, whatever it is that got you hooked. You need to unhook it and get yourself some separation from that. It's like loosen the chain, loosen the noose, loosen that hold that they had on you that you had swallowed, almost very much like a fish, for an analogy. And there's so much to cover on this topic, and I think I'm going to do it on a several bit of videos, because I have a lot of notes as well as viewer comments that have given some testimony to this. But I want you to really understand that these are the new things that you need to open up, and open up that deserve factor, because it's just like it shows you just like the Olympic athletes, where your 1 or 2 minutes can make a crucial performance difference for you. So that's why it's so important for you to engage in the mindfulness, for you to engage in the astramations, those affirmations. I am worthy. I am safe. I am good enough. I am lovable. I deserve better. For you to really imprint that now into yourself and into your subconscious, into your feeling body, and then furthermore into your physical body, and then get up into action that reflects this. And we're going to be discussing on the next video of some more prompts to get you moving. But get you moving you must, because once the body takes movement, then you're really acting on I am worthy. You're making decisions, choices, you're taking action. The spark and the cylinder and the fuel are all coming together. And then the energy, you're emanating an energy within from I am deserving, I am worthy. So even in those 1 or 2 minutes, if you have those moments, it is taking a moment to do your affirmations in those moments. In the shower, brushing your teeth, driving to your workplace, sitting there for a moment on the couch. Really, really imprinting this, because now you have to dissolve those negative components which were imprinted, those negative feelings, and separate your feelings from those events, and seeing that that was just the event that set this whole into motion, which has created an identity, but that event does not define you. It is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. And I hope that these videos do help to become more mindful, more aware of the unspoken rules of engagement in a relationship with a narcissist, become more aware, more cognizant, and then furthermore solidifying more in your awareness of what you will and will not accept. But furthermore, validating and holding on to the I am worthy. I am here to keep myself safe, warm, feeling good, feeling in tip-top prime condition, just like that Olympic athlete. I am going to throw on the towel, I'm going to throw on the robe, I'm going to throw on the jacket, I'm going to throw on my astramations, I'm going to do my pages in those few moments, because that's what's going to make all the difference. On a consistent and daily basis, with time and repetition, you really begin to accumulate those positive messages which are imprinting and then louder, bigger, and more solidified within yourself. And it keeps you in a very humble but empowered state where you will not be violated again, and you will never have to look back over your shoulder and keep referring to that to define you. In fact, your presence and your moving forward is what defines you. You are in the batter's box. You are in the master helm. You are in the pilot cockpit. You have the ability to manage the gears and your positive feelings and take action and steer the plane, steer the boat from here. You've got the rudder. You've got the leverage. You have this for yourself. You absolutely, unequivocally deserve. It is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today, and I hope that these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.